Hey, what's up, guys? It's another video, and a few outlets are saying that Valve is saying that, you know, they might do a 4K Steam Deck, and just wanted to make a video on it. They didn't really say that. There's this article here that's saying that is Valve already planning a 4K capable Steam Deck 2.0? They don't really say that, so if we go down here, like I pointed out in one of my last videos, um, there's this guy Lawrence. I believe his name is Lawrence Yang. Is that his name? Yeah, Lawrence Yang. And all he says is it wouldn't be worth the trade-off. Technically, probably it's possible to create a device of this size that can output 4K. And then it says and run all these games, right? What would that device actually look like? How long could it run those games? How hot would it get? It's a balance. It's a lot of balancing, and we're happy, really happy where this is right now. Technology marches forward. Maybe in a year or two, actually, we'll have something that becomes more possible. Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to take a while. The power, just to push 720p or 1080p on higher wattage devices is like pretty difficult today. So yeah, both of these outlets are kind of saying that it's gonna come soon, but it's probably not coming that soon. I would probably say it's at least 2 to 3 to 4 years out. So if you can wait 2 to 4 years, probably will get a much better Steam Deck, but could be 4 years. If we look, this is just a review. This is just a review from Hardware Unboxed, and they're looking at an RTX 3050 Ti laptop. And then they're looking at RTX 3060 laptops, and these are pushing like 95 watts. And I believe the Steam Deck is 15 watts if I'm correct. Let's go and check and see what the actual wattage is. I think it's 15 watts. Tech specs. Didn't have this up before. 4 to 15 watts. And this is only 1080p Ultra. And these things are pulling 95 watts. So what is that? This is roughly pulling 6 times the power, and they can't even do 1080p. So I have no idea how that's going to work in a mobile handheld device to get something probably as powerful as a 3080 in a handheld. I don't think that's coming even in 4 years. I mean, it could, but you basically need to reduce a 3080 probably all the way down. Because even a 3080 at 135 to 155 watts with the i9, even a 3080 laptop. I mean, I don't even know what frames per second you could even get on that at 4K. It's probably would be, probably would do 60 frames per second. But I mean, you basically need to make a 3080 10 times as efficient probably to get in terms of power efficiency. And I don't know. I seriously doubt that we could get power efficiency like that. It's not impossible. I mean, maybe in 4 years there'll be stuff like that. That'd be pretty cool, but I don't know. I have my doubts that the power efficiency. I mean, even if you take this, even if we got, we reduced a 3080s, like you had a similar card as a 3080, and you reduced it 75%, we're still at something like 45 watts, 38 watts. And that's a lot of watts to be pulling in a handheld for it to like have any serious battery life. So you could have like a Steam Deck that's pulling 45 watts and it, battery life lasts like 40 minutes. There's no real point to that because then it's not a portable device. It's basically like an Xbox that's handheld, but you have to have it always plugged in. So that's kind of where it's at. I think it's kind of not correct of these outlets to be saying Valve is already planning a 4K. Valve is already planning potentially 4K capable. I mean, that's just not true. I mean, the tech is like nowhere close to being there. Definitely in 3 to 4 years, they can probably start R&D on doing something that's 4K capable. But right now, I don't see it. I don't see it happening anytime soon. I think the current Steam Deck will be out for 3 to 4 years, and there's probably going to be a refresh in 2025, if I had to guess, because by that time there might be better power efficiency, and a better way to actually do a 4K possible unit. It just depends if AMD or NVIDIA, mostly AMD, because I would assume Valve would use AMD again. If AMD can get a 15 watt APU that can do 4K, and right now APUs can barely do 720p, so yeah, I mean, there's so many things that would have to line up for this to happen. It seems kind of like a shot in the dark that this would be even possible, because there's things with way higher wattage and they're struggling at 1080p. So, and 4K is 4 times the pixels. So that's kind of my opinion on that. I really don't see 4K being possible. If we continue on and we see other benchmarks here, this is from Hardware Unboxed. This is Horizon Zero Dawn, and it's barely doing 60 frames per second at 1080p. So I don't know. I don't know how a 4K capable handheld console is going to happen when you have things pulling 95 watts and they can't even do 60 frames per second in a lot of 1080p games. So, yeah, doesn't really make sense to me that this is possible with the current tech, but who knows? Maybe NVIDIA, AMD come out with stuff that, is way more efficient, and you're getting 3080, performance at 15 watts. It could happen in 4 years. Who knows? But I seriously doubt it. And this is a fun one. So this is from Reddit, and some people just commenting, and I thought this was kind of interesting. On Reddit, it was a couple days ago, and somebody posted biggest concerns. What are your biggest concerns right now for the Steam Deck? I honestly hope Valve can work around awful shortage situation right now, and that support will last a long time, even if official support will end, and the community will always find a way. So not much of a big concern, really. What do you think might be some hurdles Valve will run into with the Steam Deck? And this guy's pretty funny off the bat that I still won't get around to playing my backlog. Yeah, definitely a lot of Steam users buy a bunch of games or have a bunch of games, and you still have like 50, 100 games you haven't even installed yet. So, because, you pick up a game for $1, $2, and, you don't even play it. So, probably going to be a lot of people still not attacking the backlog. A more serious one, Proton not working for the games I want to play. Yeah, I mean, Proton Proton is pretty good. Pretty good with compatibility, but it's only compatible with like 10 or 20% of PC games. So there's potentially 80% of games that aren't going to be fully compatible or are going to be that well optimized. So it's a valid concern. And this guy below says, I migrated to Linux Fedora after the announcement of Windows 11. I haven't had any issues with any of the games I play through Proton. There is always the anti-cheat software that comes bundled with the competitive titles. That can be an issue, but honestly, I would not play them on a handheld device anyway. But if Valve can get the anti-cheat software to run under Proton, this will not be an issue anyway. Let me go down. Let's see. I'm mainly hoping Valve's estimated availability date is on the conservative side, and I can get it sooner than expected. Then I'm hoping that any kinks involved in setting up mods, emulators, non-Steam games, etc. are all ironed out, and or are step-by-step guides to follow by the time I get mine. Yeah, I mean, Phil Spencer from Microsoft, from head of Xbox, I believe it's Phil Spencer. Yeah, Phil Spencer said he got a Steam Deck. Valve gave him one, and he was able to put xCloud on it, and he was able to play Game Pass games. So it's probably not that difficult for people to install other services or games or other things that they want to run on top of Proton. So I don't think it's going to be that difficult. But yeah, there probably will be quite a few guides. There's a lot of good YouTubers out there who go through and will have guides on how to do things, and it'll be super good quality in 4K. So bet there's going to be a lot of guides out there. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. ETA Prime is a good guy who I think will probably have tons of guides on the Steam Deck. He's really into computers and mobile and emulation and gaming and stuff, and he'll probably have tons of guides, and there's tons of other people. Game's not working again. This next guy, really, I don't really have any concerns. I have a rule against buying first-gen products. This is the first time I've ever done it, but Valve is a company that usually gets things right from the beginning when it comes to quality of their hardware products. So I am not at all nervous about the deck. Interesting. Next guy, I'm generally late adopter of new hardware, but the deck seems like such a great product. Only two concerns I have: that the deck will have some annoying flaw that will be fixed with the release of the deck 2 a year or so later. I'm not in the position to be buying multiple new consoles. I typically use screen protectors on my devices, but I've gone for the 512GB model with the anti-glare glass. Surely any screen protector is going to negate the anti-glare effect, in which case I might have to risk not using one. That's true. I mean, but there are frosted glass screen protectors that people can get. Those actually do exist, so maybe the guy could get a frosted glass anti-glare screen protector. I mean, they do make those in glass that you could put on top of the etched glass. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Valve's inability to fulfill the demand. Some people get it December 2021, while others Q3 or Q4 2022. Some others can't get it officially. Buttons, D-pad, joysticks, possible low durability and difficulty to replace. Proton's lack of compatibility, overpriced dock. I mean, the dock's not overpriced. I mean, you could get a USB-C dongle for $20, and that can be your dock. That's what Valve has been showing off. You just plug in a dongle on the top of it, and you know, you have a dock. So you plug your charger into the dongle, you plug the dongle into your Steam Deck, and then you plug HDMI into the dongle, and through the USB-C dongle, it's going to charge your Steam Deck, and then you're going to be able to output to your TV or your monitor. So that's not really that big of a deal. You can get a dongle and use that as a dock for $20. And then it coming out in Q3 or Q4. Yeah, that's definitely a valid concern for people who are pre-ordering now, because Valve is saying that you're going to get it after Q2 2022. So it's definitely people who are trying to reserve now, you're going to get your Steam Deck in Q3 or Q4. So you're going to get it in 1 year is Valve's estimate. And the buttons and the durability of the D-pad and the joysticks, it could be, but Valve also made this, or has already made they made the Steam controller, and the Steam controller, for those who don't know, so I'll bring it up. Steam controller. They already made a Steam controller, and this was good on durability. And, you had this one joystick, and then you had, your A, B, X, Y, and it looks like the Steam Deck. Let's check it out. Should be, yeah, it looks like those are the same buttons. It's like, looks exactly the same. So probably your A, B, Y, and X buttons are all the same buttons. If I had to guess, they wouldn't really want to spend more R&D on making new kinds of buttons. Let's see. Yeah. So, and they had a joystick. This joystick, probably a lot of the joystick parts, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be pretty similar. It's just much easier to reuse good stuff that you already had. And this, joystick was still good, and these D-pads, or not D-pad, but these face buttons were good on the Steam controller. My friend had one, and I tried it out, and it's pretty good. So I don't know. It's probably not that bad for the joysticks, because they already have one version, and they already had one version of these buttons. The only thing would be probably, if I had to guess, the only thing that could be an issue, because it's Gen 1, probably would be these touch pads and that new D-pad, because here there's no D-pad. This is sort of, it's like a touch sensitive D-pad, but yeah, that's probably the only thing. It's probably the only thing that I would think is like that maybe this D-pad. This looks super similar to what was on the Xbox One. It looks like an Xbox One D-pad, so could be I would say the only thing that's like Gen 1 would be this D-pad here. And the other stuff, and then, these touch pads, but I think everything else Valve has kind of done before. So it's sort of going to be an iteration of the current tech they have that's much easier to reuse that stuff. So I don't know. Don't think those things would be that big of a concern. They could be. It could, there could be drift in the sticks. There could be, buttons jamming. Nobody knows. But if I had to guess, I don't know. They already have done R&D and had good durability on their previous controllers, so yeah. The next one, my biggest concern isn't so much with the Steam Deck, but some companies requiring always connected internet really to play or enjoy a game. I prefer playing offline. So for a game to require constant internet connection, yeah, it's gonna be a no for me, dog. Like Randy Jackson from American Idol. Yeah, I don't think this. I mean, the Steam Deck is supposed to be portable, but I think the whole idea is to play games like on an airplane or on a bus, or on a car ride, with your friends or family. So don't really think that they're gonna have an internet always. And also in Steam, you can always put it into offline mode. So, but yeah, could be that you need to always be online with the Steam Deck, but don't think so. Just because, yeah, I mean, with Steam right now, you can have your games offline, or you can go into offline mode if your internet goes out, and you can still play your Steam games. I think for a while. Don't know how many days you have, but yeah, if your internet goes out, you can still play games at home on Steam. It'll just throw you into offline mode, so you won't have your cloud saves syncing, and you won't be able to sync your cloud saves. But once you get internet back, you can sync your saves and stuff like that. So I don't know why it's taking so long to be in my hands. I guess I just trying to be funny. My biggest concerns is that I'm going to be disappointed when the games I'm most interested in aren't playing ideal on the Steam Deck. I've mainly been a console gamer for the last 10 years, and I really missed RTS games. Of course, I'm not interested in the Steam Deck for that, but it'd be nice to enjoy those games casually. Yeah, I mean, real-time strategy games. I don't know. Probably better to play that on a PC. I think it plays better on a PC. You have your macro buttons, and you have your hotkeys. I would say probably this guy should just get a cheap gaming laptop for like $500-600 or $700 if he wants to play RTS. Battery life, yeah, battery life could be a concern. The thing is super chunky, and it's only got a 720p screen. I mean, this thing is massive. I think it's gonna have at least 3 to 4 hour battery life, like a Switch. Because I mean, they got a lot of space. A lot of space to fit a giant battery in here. So I think that's why it's so huge. And that's kind of why they probably were like, okay, low res screen, and then have a giant battery packed into the chassis. Then you can not really worry about battery life. So I personally don't think that's a concern. Semiconductor shortage, yeah, not being able to get it. Well, it seems like a lot of people just are worried they can't get it, or game compatibility. My biggest concern is the wrist grip fatigue and heat. I want to be able to comfortably play an extended period of time without my hands falling asleep. Also worried about durability. I travel full time for my job, and my Switch, which admittedly is 5 to 6 years old, has chipping and chunks of plastic missing from unfortunate tumbles. I fully intend for a deck to 100% replace my Switch. Just hope it can take a heavy drop and keep trucking. Yeah, I mean, this guy shouldn't even be dropping his console to begin with. But he probably, if I had to guess, if he keeps dropping his consoles, I would tell him not to get the 512 gig version. Probably get the 256, because he probably, if he drops his consoles a lot, I don't know how. If he drops his consoles a lot, it's probably gonna shatter the glass screen. So yeah, I mean, it is glass, so it's kind of a weird one. I get that the Joy-Cons are a Switch. Yeah, it just seems like this guy doesn't take care of his stuff. Kind of a weird one. That the controls fail prematurely. Since the controllers come with the Steam Deck, if one of the buttons or analog sticks die, then it'll be painful to get it fixed. Sorta, yeah. I mean, could be. Yeah, stick would be a pain if the stick got messed up. Though, if they were smart and they designed the sticks with ribbon cables, and the sticks are modular inside the Steam Deck, kind of like how they do it on a Nintendo Switch Joy-Con, might not be that difficult to switch out a joystick. But if they solder in the joystick, you're going to need somebody with soldering skills, and that's going to be difficult to fix. So it all depends. I mean, who knows? I mean, I know that Sony and Nintendo in their portables, Sony and Nintendo have always used ribbon cables in portables to do their joysticks. It'll be interesting once people get their Steam Decks if they're actually going to use ribbon cables or they're going to use solder. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it's not solder. If it's not solder, then yeah, I mean, that would be super sweet. Then you could just buy a new joystick online and swap it out and don't have to deal with solder. But if there is solder involved, it'd be a little more painful. But also the joysticks are gonna have some crazy tech in them because they're also touch sensitive joysticks, I believe. So there's like touch sensitive area here. So yeah, if this fails, it's probably gonna be not that cheap to get a new one. A new one that functions the way an OEM one functions. That's interesting. That's pretty interesting. In my time doing some console repairs and stuff and fixing switches and things like that, doing a lot of Joy-Con repairs. Yeah, that would be interesting. If this joystick underneath, because hopefully it's just a couple screws and then a ribbon cable, and then can just, unscrew it, take out the ribbon cable, pop in a new one. That's a smart design, and that's what Sony and Nintendo have done. So that's an interesting one. I don't know. We'll have to really wait and see. Dropping it in the bath, yeah. I mean, could slip out of your hands, I guess. Availability in my region, yeah. I mean, it could be not available. And then let's go through a couple more. I don't know a lot about PC specs and have always had consoles, so I have no idea what to compare it to. I really want to play Valheim and Grim Dawn, so I'm just hoping they will work. Valheim is a Linux native client, should be fine, and Grim Dawn has a platinum rating on ProtonDB. So I guess that guy should have pretty good compatibility for the games he wants to play. My wife finds out my new toy and telling her it's a Wii U controller. Interesting. That's it. 800p, not 960p, which would allow for integer scaling to 640 by 800 resolution, and obviously that games with anti-cheat won't work. Aside from chip shortage and Proton compatibility, that the hardware doesn't age gracefully as we're hoping within a year or two, it really can't play AAA modern games. I suppose it could still be fine if that does happen, and not like there isn't a large catalog to play, but if it shortly winds up being really underpowered, a la where the Switch is now, and new games don't run on it, don't run well on it, I think people will be disappointed. For what it's worth, I'm not as worried about this one. Seems like publishers aren't quite ready to leave Xbox One, PS4 behind, and those low to medium settings. Yeah, no, I mean, this guy's right about the Xbox One and PS4 when I did look it up in terms of the power performance. The Steam Deck is in between an Xbox One and a PS4. So it's, from what I remember, it's about 1.6, 1.7 teraflops, and a PS4 is like 1.86. And then you have an Xbox One at 1.3 teraflops. So it falls in between. Probably right. So I don't know. I think Steam Deck will last 3 to 4 years. Then we get a refresh in 2025. Seems kind of how all the console companies do it. You get first gen 3 to 4 years, then you get a pro version, and then you get another refresh 3 to 4 years later. So things last 4 years generally in the console world before you get a new one. Usually, Nintendo's different. They don't really do that. Micro SD card slot not having a cover or flap. Clearly doesn't have one. Shouldn't be that big of a concern. I wouldn't think you're worried about dust and dirt getting in there or the card failing out. I've never had a DS game fall out of my DS. It's not a big concern. It's just my biggest concern. LOL. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the Steam Deck is that they actually give you this carrying case. And every model comes with a carrying case. So you put in your micro SD card in the bottom of the Steam Deck. You know, you put it in there and then you put it in your case, and you don't have to really worry about anything, any dust getting in there, because it's going to be in the case. So you just take care of it well, and you put it in your case after you're done playing with it, or, you know, you put it in your case, you know, at the end of the day, and don't leave it out for like dust and grime and stuff to get in there. Should be fine. I don't know. Don't think that's that big of an issue, but we'll see. There could be some crazy issues that nobody foresees. Biggest concern is no Game Pass. Well, that's Phil Spencer already did that, so I think it should be fine. Biggest concern is how well it will play games. Hopefully it exceeds docked or undocked. Yeah, it should be pretty good. I mean, we'll see. 30 FPS, 720p is kind of what their minimum is for games. So it'll be interesting to see. So yeah, that's it for this one, guys. Thought this was super interesting, kind of what the community thought of the Steam Deck and where their concerns are. So yeah, like and subscribe and kind of comment on the video if you have any feedback for me. Thanks. Bye.